Good afternoon, and thank you so very much for joining us for another Business Inclusion and Diversity webinar. We are in for a treat today. We will be doing a small business spotlight, and we will be spotlighting a firm by the name of New Day Consulting. You will learn a little bit more about New Day Consulting, but I would respectfully ask for your patience for just a few minutes so that we can allow more participants to sign on. Thank you so very much. I'm always respectful of those of you who sign on timely, but this is great information that's going to be disseminated today, and we want to allow as many participants as we can to sign on and take advantage of it. So be patient with us, and we'll be right back really soon. Ah, okay, it's been 2 minutes, and we appreciate you being here. We are going to start off as usual with an overview of the BID program. It is imperative for us at the city that you have a complete understanding of exactly what it is that we're trying to accomplish with BID and the services and programs that we have in place to better position you to grow your business. So please allow and bear with me as I try to share my screen with you so that we can do an overview of BID. Okay, there we go. And Paul has taught me well, so we can do. I am Dr. Karen Hollis, as I stated earlier. I am the individual that the city of Miramar has in charge with an ability to help small businesses grow. More importantly, to be able to create programs and services within which businesses can feel more comfortable about coming to the city to get the services that they need, to get the help that they need, to get the training that they need, to have a place where they can come and not only get a seat at the table, we provide them with tables and to have all of their important questions about growing their businesses answered. Now, the goals and objectives of BID are to uphold the highest standards of inclusion and to foster more diversity on city projects. That's the overarching goal. Who we are. BID is a system of tools designed to work together as part of an interconnecting network of possibilities that close the racial gaps and position minority businesses to achieve more economic equity and sustainability. So, what it is that we do, we use building resilience. That is what we're trying to help firms be able to do. We want to help them by creating opportunities for them to learn, to grow, to have contracts to secure, contracts to be successful in bidding on solicitations. And we want to do all of those things in an effort to advance sustainability because we know, as you will hear, that businesses start and as many start and open their company, unfortunately, end up closing as well. So sustainability is a huge barrier that we are seeking to remedy with these programs. Now that you know a little bit about who we are, here's a little bit more about what we do. BID designs change management strategies to help grow and develop local minority and um, underprivileged businesses, disadvantaged businesses is the actual certification. And the ways in which we do that is through we try to educate them with skill building workshops and seminars and symposiums. We try to connect them with industry experts, as we will be doing with today's webinar. We have an industry expert in Ms. Kimberly Bonner, who will be here for New Day Consulting. And we want you, as a small business participant, to be able to learn and understand the value and the services that Ms. Bonner, our industry expert for today being showcased, can add to help you grow your business. We also connect businesses with community stakeholders. There are other organizations within which we see and know that are offering opportunities for businesses to grow. We partner with such organizations like Nova Southeastern University, the Office of Economic and Small Business Development, the Urban League. There are several community stakeholders. Recently, if you were here on March 28th, we partnered with Turner Construction, another community stakeholder. And Turner Construction came with a myriad of contracting opportunities that businesses that attended the webinar, the in-person workshop, were able to learn about and position themselves to be able to capitalize on. And all of this is being done in an effort to help businesses grow. We implement programs and services for no other reason. The number one reason is to ensure that you are given the resources, the assistance, the support, and whatever is needed for you to be able to grow your business. Now, let's talk a little bit about this year. The BID program is very, very excited about being able to showcase our 2023 calendar. And in this year, we are doing what's called Small Business Spotlights. Now, what does that mean? There's a national program. It wasn't created by BID or the city of Miramar. The actual retail, Department of Retail Management in the United States of America, they have the Small Business Spotlight program, where in which they made a decision to gather and focus on a small number of businesses for a period of time in hope of helping those small businesses grow. Well, if you ever watch Good Morning America, where they're showcasing small businesses, they've adopted that same concept. Not just the city of Miramar, where here you can see on our 2023 calendar, the city has actually adopted 12 businesses that we are going to focus and provide benefits and help throughout the entire year in hopes of being able to have more directed and intentional economic impact into these businesses. Now, not just us, the NFL actually also, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are participating in the Small Business Spotlights. So these are proven resources in a system that's been proven to be beneficial to businesses. And so we here at the City of Miramar definitely wants to make sure that we make it available to you. Now, as you can see, we're on the month of April, and we will be presenting the company New Day Consulting, and it is owned by Ms. Kimberly M. Bonner. But before we get to that, I want you to see on the calendar, and each of you that registered today will get a copy of our 2023 calendar. We have 4 signature events that the City of Miramar will be hosting year to year to help you have an opportunity to grow. The first of which took place on March 28th with our collaboration with Turner Construction. We had in excess of 150 businesses showcase and register and attend. And we actually were able to connect them with the 30 or more vendors, prime contractors, community stakeholders that had vendor tables and were in place to tell them and to give them more information about how they can position themselves to not only do business with Turner Construction, but also to each agency and organization and prime contractor that had a table at the event. Our next event will be taking place as the BID's second annual construction contracting fair, and it will be taking place on Thursday, May 4th. You will be invited and have an opportunity to come, and this year's contractor fair will have a theme, Bonding Pre-Qualification Symposium. What does that mean? A symposium is a portal or an event that happens where industry experts are coming and are put on a panel to share and disseminate like-minded information to be able to allow the people that are in attendance to have more learning in that particular area. Well, bonding is going to be it. Bonding is not a barrier, but it's definitely and continues to be a challenge for small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses. And we understand that here at the City of Miramar, which is why we work very hard and we continue to implement programs, measures, services, resources to try to not just eliminate and minimize that challenge, but to eradicate it. So on Thursday, May 4th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., you come here at the Miramar Cultural Arts Center. The address is on the flyer, and you will be getting a copy of the flyer so that you can register, but it's 2400 Civic Center Place. You will have an opportunity to position yourself and hear from industry experts from everything from credit repair, because we've been told here at the City of Miramar that making sure that your credit is an intricate, having good credit, I'm sorry, is a very important component to you being able to become bondable. And so we don't want to just give you that information. We want to position you to be able to have a tool in place to connect you with an industry expert that is able to work with you and allow you to do things and insist you on doing things to be able to improve your credit score to such a number that will allow you to be bondable. Also, working capital. There will be industry experts at the event on May 4th that will assist you and explain to you what it is that is required in terms of working capital to become bondable. Access to capital is another critical component of being able to be bondable. All construction and construction related firms, you need to be in place because these experts will not just give you information, but we are literally going to be having you walk through the application process. They're going to show you the bonding application. They're going to provide you with tips on how to complete the bonding application. We're going to have two organizations that assist firms in securing bonds, one located right here in the city of Miramar. So please, 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 I will forward you the flyer. You can use the QR code right now to scan to register. And we look forward to having you come there on that day, May 4th, to learn about upcoming Miramar contracting opportunities. Now, all of these things are being done because at the end of the day, these programs are in place to have and to display, and they help you grow your business too, so that we can be able to see economic impact. What does that mean? The city of Miramar cared enough to conduct a disparity study back in 2016. The study looked at us 5 years, 2011 through 2016. And they were able to find that the city of Miramar spent a total of $169,871,541.97. Unfortunately, the study concluded that only 7.43% of those dollars went to small minority and disadvantaged businesses. That equates only to $12,615,029.67. Well, unlike other organizations that do not always get the kind of result from a disparity study as they would like, and they put it on a shelf, the city of Miramar did something differently. The city of Miramar brought me on board, and they took those studies that said that we needed to do a better job as a city. And they've empowered me to be able to develop programs and services to see if, in fact, using the recommendations of the disparity study, that we can change the data. And you, as you know, the data does not lie. Post-study, going from 2017 to 2020, after implementing many of the programs and services that came along with BID, the city of Miramar spent a total of $372,972,218. And we are happy to report that 29.2% of that went to small, minority, and disadvantaged businesses to the tune of $108,981,312. The programs and services are working, but we do realize that there is still a lot more work to be done. We will continue to implement programs and services. We've set aside today to highlight a small business that will tell you about innovative ways in which you can grow your business. So without further ado, I am going to go back because I want you to be able to remember and have my contact information while I introduce you to Ms. Kimberly Bonner. Let me tell you a little bit more about this extraordinary small business owner. Ms. Kimberly Marie Bonner is an expert at scaling small businesses and supporting entrepreneurial ecosystems. She's trained as a lawyer. Kimberly has over 20 years of experience supporting innovation and entrepreneurship. She currently owns a management consulting firm that works with for profits and nonprofits to help equip small business owners to achieve sustainable growth, profitability, and to scale up. Many consider Kimberly to be a small business doula. Her experience includes, but is not limited to, creating fundable businesses and business plans, pitch deck and pitch development, franchising, business acquisition, business model innovation, and intellectual property licensing. Kimberly is the CEO of New Day Consulting Systems, our featured spotlight firm for the month of April, and she's an accomplished author and speaker. She is a graduate of the University of Virginia with a degree in foreign affairs and a graduate of the University of Virginia School of Law. Please help me in welcoming or introducing to some, reintroducing and equating to others, none other than the owner of New Day Consulting, Miss Kimberly M. Bonner. Thank you again so very much, Kimberly, for joining us. And please take it away and share with the participants all of the wonderful things that you are doing with New Day to help businesses, startups, and scale up. Take it away, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hollis, for inviting me to the Miramar Small Business Spotlight. I appreciate it. I appreciate the incredible work that you and the city of Miramar are doing to help small businesses. So, again, I appreciate it. Today, I have the honor of talking about my company, New Day Consulting Systems. And our focus has been for the past 10 years on helping entrepreneurs and communities thrive. Next slide. Last week on April 4th, we commemorated, unfortunately, the death of Martin Luther King in Memphis, Tennessee. And a lot of people forget that this picture was the really the last kind of public preaching event that he gave, and he was really focused on economics at this time of his life and economic justice. And I have a quote on top of this picture that freedom without finance is really not freedom. And I believe that with everything in me. If you don't have the ability to pay for clothes, food, housing, etc., you're really not free. And I firmly believe that economic freedom and economic justice is part of the American dream. And a huge part of that is entrepreneurship. So I see, in my opinion, that freedom all over the world, and particularly the United States, part of that is entrepreneurship and economic finance and economic justice. Next slide. Small businesses have generated 12.9 million net new jobs over the past 25 years, accounting for 2 out of every 3 jobs added to the economy. That is an amazing statistic. Unfortunately, most people don't kind of realize it's small businesses that are generating the net new jobs in this country. And that's an amazing stat to kind of sit with. 2 out of every 3 jobs added to the economy were made by a small business. Next slide. In an SBA report that came out in January of 2022, it really highlighted that small businesses tend to create more jobs than large businesses during economic expansions, but lose more jobs during and immediately following recessions. If you actually replace the word recessions, you could put pandemic, and we'd all understand how true that is. We all lived it during 2020. Another statistic that's in this job creation report that I think is really telling is that fewer than half of all startups are still in business after 5 years. So we recognize that small businesses and startups do all this great job creation, but unfortunately, we have this data and these statistics that, close to half of them are gone in 5 years. Other statistics talk about, the longer a startup or has been in business, the better they are at job creating. Duh. The larger the startup is, the more of an impact they're going to make in job creation. That's the other part of that statistic. So we can see from these stats that small businesses are the engines of our economy. Next slide.
And we see, not to
Oh,
interrupt you, how important it is for us and why we need the continuation of these types of programs. Because
yes.
one of the things that I was able to demonstrate when I first got here back in 2018, I believe it was like 400 and don't quote me exactly, 490 something, 490 businesses had started at January of 2018. And I was able to demonstrate to city leadership that by December 2018, half of those businesses, over 200, had already closed out
It's
because so
amazing.
many of them, it's not that they didn't have the wherewithal to start the business. It goes back to what I talked about, how just because you have an industry expert in a particular field, it takes a lot more than just a trade to run a business. You
Absolutely.
really need to have more support and individuals and programs like ours at the City of Miramar, community experts like yourself, working together to ensure we provide them with what they need to become more sustainable. So thank
That's
you.
an incredible statistic. Nationally, 20% of new businesses, reflecting what Dr. Hollis is saying, 20% of new businesses fail within their first year. What we see, lack of finances, investors, customers are the top reasons why a new business fails. Next slide. This statistic has always kind of gutted me because I think it's astonishing when you think about it, and it's totally unacceptable. 70% of all businesses fail by year 10. And when I say all businesses, most of the time when we're talking in economic development world or entrepreneurship land, there are two main buckets of small businesses. You have your traditional tech startup, which I spent a huge part of my career swimming in as an IP lawyer doing IP licensing. And those tech startups are awash with money, many of them. Like if you lasted past year one or two, you got some seed money, you got an angel investor or two. Um, so when we're looking at this statistic, we're talking about combining the tech startups and your traditional mom and pop business, solopreneur, your traditional small retail business. 70% of all businesses fail by year 10. And Dr. Hollis, if this was kind of any other space, that failure rate would be completely unacceptable. Imagine if we said 70% of all cars die by year 10, right? Or 70% of all homes died by year 10. Or when you put your kid in school, you're like, they're all going to drop out by their 10th year in school. We would all be mortified. We would all be horrified. We would all say, this statistic cannot stand. Yet these numbers, and Dr. Hollis probably knows it far better than me, they have they have really not changed considerably in 20 years. You can challenge me and tell me I'm wrong, Dr. Hollis. I'm open to it, but I don't really see the needle really moving when it comes to small business failure rates substantially over time. Do you?
And then you compound, well, it's very difficult in the last years that we've started the program because shortly after implementing all of our wonderful programs and services, we were encountering COVID. And I will tell you, even with that unforeseen challenge, you can see the data that reflected that even though we started with the city of Miramar only having allow for 7.48% to minority participation, even amid the COVID pandemic, you see that we were able to increase those numbers to 29.2%. What does that say? That says that not all businesses fail. And even though we continue as an America and a country and a world for that, COVID was everywhere, to encounter challenges, what you will find, and we were able to see with the federal government stepping in, making programs and setting aside and having resources made available to the businesses. I believe that that is one of, because remember the numbers that we had went all the way through 2020 with the data that I reflected, which was amid the COVID pandemic. Those federal government programs and the resources that were made available to sustain businesses did two things. It demonstrated to the world that the United States of America understands the importance of small businesses and their sustainability and how greatly they impact what it is that we do in America, and that the federal government continuing through the SBA and a lot of other programs like what we have here to empower small businesses to be able to remain. Now, one of the things in the statistic that we have, it's kind of like what the example you said about the children. I was one of those mothers. I had 9/11. I was pregnant. We did lose, unfortunately, about 3,500 people. What people don't realize, those of us that were in the last trimester, more children were born on the date of 9/11 than any other time in America. And so
Wow.
I was one of those parents, and we have these September 11 babies. And I have a son who's now, they turned 21 this year. Now, likewise, with COVID, yes, we were able to lose a lot of businesses, but there's data out there and statistics that also show that so many Americans that had to go home and lost their jobs and did not continue with employment said they would never allow themselves to be in that position again.
Very
So
true.
believe it or not, likewise with COVID and 9/11, more small businesses were open from individuals that had never fathomed the idea of entrepreneurship. And so we can look at the half empty portion, or we also, and what I'm trying to say to you, Kimberly, I'm the half full type. We had just as many businesses, if not more, that were created as a direct result of that economic downturn that we had through COVID than ever in the history of America.
No,
So I
I totally agree with you. My issue though is
want to talk about New Delhi.
I know,
Things that you did right.
but my big issue is there's got to be even with those new businesses that are being formed, and my services are here to help, but everyone needs to recognize that things have to change. You can't just start a business even during a downturn and expect it to all be rosy and successful.
And
So
that's
that's the
what
number
it's
one
all
reason why
about.
you probably have a lot of Black female business owners rising to the occasion, in large part due to the pandemic and some other things. So there's another opportunity for, let's just say, underserved founders, Black females, are literally opening businesses at record breaking rates. The key is, though, are they getting the funding? Are they getting the support? Are they getting um, investors and opportunities on par with others? Um,
And
that
are they aware of all of the opportunities
that's
that
very
are
true.
available out there, which is why we knew it was imperative for us to have New Day on board, because there's so much about what it is that you do as a Black female business owner
I
that
agree.
I didn't even know about. And I want to make sure that we use the majority of time. The data is there, we know it. These programs, along with individuals like yourself, myself, city leaders, continue to implement and be innovative about the way in which we do our small part to try to make economic impact on the things that the world and businesses, small businesses in particular, are being challenged with. But today, I really need you to tell them about those things and the areas that you now specialize in, those amazing opportunities that most small businesses are probably not even thinking about are available to them, like purchasing other businesses.
Right.
Please, please. please
Right.
tell us about what it is that you do first for startup businesses.
Awesome. And I understand that, but I also teach my pitch competitors who've won thousands of dollars, 50,000, 25,000. You start up with the problem, and you start up with the market, and then you get to your solution. This is my solution. New Day Consulting Systems, our services. As you can see, I've kind of broken up our services into startups, scale ups, and funding. So when you look at our services as it relates to startups, we have executive coaching, marketing services, business acquisition, and ecosystem development. And I'll go into each one of them in detail. Next slide. Startup services. Executive coaching is really about, particularly if you come from a traditional employer kind of context and environment. Executive coaching is really all about helping you transform from that kind of employee mindset to a CEO mindset. And they are very different. They are very different. And there's a strategy to do that, and also a strategy to develop your business plan, your marketing plan, your funding plan, et cetera, and so forth. Those are startup services that we provide. Digital marketing services. A lot of new businesses don't really appreciate the marketing that they will have to do. They don't have a strategy for it. They don't have a plan for it. We've been in this space for 10 years. We've have relationships with some of the best agencies in the United States that actually do work with small businesses. And we helped do the strategy, and we actually connect people with others that are kind of hardcore agencies that help do elements of our marketing strategy and help you win and get found so that you're not invisible. Invisibility is a big issue for small businesses. That's why it's terrific that Miramar is doing this and Dr. Hollis is doing this to highlight small businesses. Business acquisition services talked about the problem of small business failure rates, which haven't changed in 20 years, sadly. Don't really understand why that is. But one of the best solutions to that is simply buying a business. So 80%, 80 to 90% of business acquisitions succeed. Like, that's the whole point. If you buy a business, you're not going to buy a failure unless you're doing that on purpose. Like, you're doing that to get involved, make a turnaround, and then let's say exit, or get involved at a very low price, make a turnaround, and keep it. So there are all kinds of ways to acquire a business, whether it's you know uh, a traditional franchise business that's been in existence as a resale, or a traditional mom and pop or independent business that's been in existence for a while, that's successful, that has found market traction, that has a staff, and
Mhm.
their SBA lending opportunities that actually lend themselves, literally, no pun intended or pun intended, to actually acquiring those businesses. Unfortunately, most people don't even realize that. Most people don't even realize that. There's also a subset of kind of private equity called search funds that really focus on getting investors to help people find businesses to acquire and putting those individuals in positions of CEO. So, all of this business acquisition money and opportunity is really not publicly known. It's been my mission since I started in 2013 to help expose people to the fact that you don't have to start um, from scratch, and you don't necessarily have to start with these bleak statistics. We actually can leapfrog over that, particularly if you have a decent credit, right? And you have some funding, kind of similar to your situation if you were to do a startup, quite frankly. Um, you have the opportunity to leapfrog over those horrible statistics that I shared and move forward with some level of security and success. Lastly, as it relates to startup services, there is entrepreneurial ecosystem development. We just started this during the pandemic because I recognized that there was just doing outreach to the either the franchise systems that I've been working with across the nation, the small business owners that I've been working with across the nation. A lot of people were, um, there was a communications kind of breaks as where whether was related to PPP or standards for operating your company. It's just a lot of fragmentation. Not sure if that was the case in Miramar. Probably doesn't, because Dr. Hollis is gangbusters, but everywhere else, it seemed like there were these holes that people were just not aware of. And one of the things that I've been working with other cities, other counties, is developing better either communication systems with small business owners, developing what I would call kind of digital communities with small business owners so they can be found, and also governments, nonprofits, whoever the stakeholders can will be, can actually help better promote and support and service those businesses. We also help support incubators, which has become, in a weird way after the pandemic, a way that a lot of, whether it's nonprofits or governments, are trying to reinvigorate small business ecosystems after the pandemic. So those are our startup services in a nutshell: executive coaching, business plan development, digital marketing services. We generally partner with agencies on that piece, business acquisition services, and entrepreneurial ecosystem development.
So
And that's
you
fine.
will literally, ma'am, help now when you talk about your executive coaching, if I or any business were interested, because this is amazing. This is really good information. And like you said, the statistics don't lie. So if a business wanted to, like you say, hurdle over the traditional challenges of opening a business and do a business acquisition, you wouldn't just tell them and go to the website and do this. You would literally coach them through the entire process. You would
Absolutely.
assist them because most individuals probably believe they don't have the financial resources. But I did hear you say that you would also help them identify investors and financial resources to be able to consider going this route in terms of entrepreneurship. Is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely.
Wow. So definitely businesses, you will have her contact information at the end and you will be able, you see why we have this as a viable business. We knew we needed to connect you with. Let's go next. So you also, you don't just help startup businesses, but
Yes.
those of you that are already in business and say, oh my God, why didn't I know her before I started my business? Relax. She also will help you. That is what you mean by scale up services, correct, Ms. Bonner?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Scale up services, franchise system development services, working to take a small business and blow it up through franchising. Um, we've worked literally in every aspect of, whether it's the feasibility study, whether it's developing, helping, working with lawyers to develop the FDD, franchise agreement. Franchise disclosure document is this very large document that every franchise needs in order to sell a franchise. We help with that. We help with your training, onboarding of franchisees, marketing your franchise. When we say we can work with every element of that, that's a sweet spot. It's one of the first services that we started with, because it was very close to a lot of the work that I had been doing for a few years. And so, franchise system development and IP licensing are kind of our foundation that we kind of built the company with. So, that's a core service. IP licensing management. So a lot of people think that, okay, I have this invention. Let's say it's a toy, or let's say it's I was just watching that movie with Joy Magnano or whatever. She invented the mop that went kind of viral. And one of her biggest issues was intellectual property. She got in a lot of trouble with that. Um, a lot of inventors don't recognize that a way to scale their business is properly protecting the intellectual property that they have and getting into a licensing agreement with a major distributor. This is another area that is in my wheelhouse. That's actually part of the foundation of New Day. Another piece that nobody thinks about when they're talking about a scale up, but think about mergers and acquisitions, right? Um, a lot of heavy hitting business owners, if they want to move into a new space, they simply acquire another company. So Facebook does this a lot. When you look at Mark Zuckerberg, he has really grown his business not through innovation per se, but through the acquisition of things like Instagram and I believe WhatsApp, and all manner of other very innovative companies. And so, as an entrepreneur and small business owner, you can do the same thing. You can acquire an entire franchise system, you can acquire a multi unit operation, or you can do a bolt on acquisition of an independently owned and operated. Let's say you're a I don't know a restaurant owner, and you would like to own the baking company that bakes all of your bread and your muffins and your desserts. You can acquire that as kind of like an acquisition that's complementary to what you currently are doing to help build your infrastructure, and you can scale that way. That's another way of scaling within your vertical. So there are lots of ways you can scale up. You don't just have to
And those are
grow.
options.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt,
Go
but
ahead.
those are actually options for our smaller local businesses and what we sometimes call micro businesses. So if I hear you correctly, you do not have to be a medium or large size business to consider business acquisition as a plausible way of growing your business. And it's refreshing to know in the city of Miramar, you mentioned bakery, we have a young lady that does um, healthy treats. So if that individual wanted to become a franchisee of what it is that she is her expertise, you're saying you would be able to assist her in taking her specialty goods and allowing individuals would be similar to other ones where in which she created here in the city of Miramar. I like that. And distributed throughout the entire, where everything you need is right here in Miramar. You would be able to assist my small business into curtailing those edible treats that are amazing and healthy for you and empowering other people to open a business where in which she would create them all here in Miramar and ship them throughout because we know the shipping industry is already in existence. But literally, would it be something similar to that, man?
Yes, it would be. It would be. So a
Interesting.
lot of times, micro businesses don't think in these terms. Even, I mean, let's just be honest when it comes to mergers and acquisitions. For years, people buy their competitors. There's no reason why, if you're a small business and you've got a competitor and, they've been in business, they want to retire, hey, you could buy them. I mean, this is what happens all the time in corporate America. I'm just kind of uh, sharing information and making it more accessible to smaller businesses.
Well, my smaller businesses here in the city of Miramar, I can't speak for others. And I did hear you say perhaps we did not encounter the same challenges. That is not so. We here in the city of Miramar, and not just us as a city, but our small businesses, our local small minority and disadvantaged businesses, they definitely encounter, even with all of the initiatives and programs and services we implement here at the city of Miramar, it doesn't exempt them from experiencing the same challenges. What we're finding, Miss Kimberly, you're talking about things like mergers and acquisitions. We're helping our small businesses with QuickBooks. We're
Yeah.
helping our small plumbers because they do have an intricate trade. They've been a plumber on another company with a prime contractor for 20 years. Now they've retired and they want to open their business. They have HVAC. They work for a large air conditioning company for 20 years, and now they want to go. And during the pandemic, they opened their own business. So I'm excited. We won't go into it all now, but I'm definitely going to be giving your information so that all of our small businesses here in the city of Miramar can at least reach out to you, know that you exist as a community stakeholder and an expert, that can give them valuable information that you won't just give them the information, but she will literally walk you through the process.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I
And
really
you know
do.
they're gonna need money, so the
Oh, I know. And this is the big issue.
yes,
This
funding services.
this is the elephant in the middle of the room, right? Particularly for underserved founders, Black and Hispanic, BIPOC founders. When it comes to investors and investor outreach, there's strategies to do that. Um, Obviously, when it comes to venture capital, less than 2% of all venture capital goes to Black, Hispanic, and women entrepreneurs, which is a horrific statistic. But you don't necessarily need venture capital. There are other ways to raise money that are out there. Preparation for SBA loans. A lot of the acquisitions that I, uh, work with founders on or work with executives on, they've they've gone through the SBA process. The SBA process is not like everybody else's process. It has its unique challenges, but we will help you prepare for that process every step of the way. Going back to investors and investor outreach, that whole search fund space that very few people know, it exists, it's viable, it's real. You can get investors to support you in your acquiring a very successful multi-million dollar business. But people don't know it exists, and you can't prepare for that which you don't know even exists. So we can have a conversation about that. Crowdfunding campaign consulting, particularly equity crowdfunding, has really helped underserved entrepreneurs just get where they need to go. And so folks have really raised millions of dollars in effective crowdfunding campaigns. And we can help you do that, particularly with the equity crowdfunding piece. And lastly, pitch deck and pitch deck preparation. This has blown up. This was like a big thing in the Washington, D.C. area for years when I started my business. There were lots of pitch competitions, mainly with tech startups, but it started to bleed into small businesses. And now, after COVID, I'm seeing cities like Miramar and so many other cities all across the United States, quite frankly, use pitch competitions and kind of pitch awards or a type of grant to really reinvigorate small businesses. So we've had extensive experience in that going back to my days in DC and can help you win. So those are our funding, just an overview of the funding services. A lot of people don't really understand how critical it is for you to have, in my opinion, um, you want to have more than enough. You don't want to have barely enough funding to access, particularly as a new small business. And I think, um, that's where I can help if you're so inclined and work with you to move your business forward. Next slide.
Thank you, Miss Kimberly. Before we move forward,
Oh,
because this is huge, we're
okay.
talking about those things that we're doing to close the racial gap. And access to finance is number one,
Yeah.
which is why I really want us to not rush through this one. When you say preparation for investors and investors outreach, I'm a business, I come to you. Is your coaching part? Let's start from the beginning. Is there a charge for me to come talk to you as a coach? Will you sit down with me and kind of develop a blueprint? Will you help me find investors or will you just send me to a website?
Um,
What?
well, I have free initial consultations with everybody.
Yes,
So,
I need my
you're not going to
clients to know
be
this. Yes, I need
you're
my
not going to
clients
be
to know this.
charged. You're not going to be charged just for me to have a conversation with you. So I tell people all the time, it's nothing. It makes no sense for you not to have an initial conversation with me. The only thing that you're going to lose is, I would say, the ignorance that you had about any given subject matter that I particularly have any kind of subject matter expertise on. So when it comes
Excellent answer.
so when it comes to preparation for investors and investor outreach, um, one of the things, if you're very, very interested in that, what we'll do, we'll probably start out in some kind of executive coaching kind of approach. Like if you're saying that you're telling me that you want, let's say you want to know everything there is to know about search funds. I will give you all that I know. I will help you make introductions, but this is the key, or give you access to the networks that I have. But this is the key. Part of preparing you for investors is that you need to do this,
That's right.
not me. I'm not the one
That's right.
looking for an investor. And so
Exactly.
it
Exactly.
can't be Kimberly Marie Bonner,
And
you
I'm coming to
know.
have you do it for me. Excellent.
Exactly. That's not going
And
to
it goes
work.
back to what I said at the beginning, insurance and bonding are not barriers.
Right.
You being able, we give you the information, we give you the equipment, but moving forward and taking action, that's what the mayor loves to say. At the end of all of his demonstrations, then he says, I'm going to empower you to then take action. That is not a barrier. You will have to move forward. But it's interesting. I bring that point because you started off with the statistics about the traditional ways. The number one reason that has been cited for those failures and all of that data that you reflected is so many businesses open up and take out loans. So just knowing that there are other funding sources that they could and should consider, especially in light of the data that reflects that the majority take out loans and they believe and have a great idea about how they perceive the business will move forward. And when something happens like COVID, you would be amazed as to how many businesses were open the month before the shutdown.
I know.
Cannot reasonably foresee those things. And so the idea that businesses can have other options, crowdfunding, I don't understand fully what that means. And I can assure you that my firms don't. And so we know that this is only a 1 hour seminar. I need you to call Miss Kimberly Bonner so that she can explain to you in full detail so that you can make an informed decision, small business, as to whether crowdfunding is an option for you when it comes to funding services. Pitching, they are, like you say, they're a little more familiar with that concept. But again, you can always learn more, which is why we have our expert here today. So excellent. She's going to give us some success stories about New Day.
Awesome.
Please,
Thank,
please move
thanks,
forward.
thanks again, Dr. Hollis, for letting me share. These are some basic success stories just by the numbers. We've been in existence for over 10 years. Clearly, we must be doing something right because over 70% of businesses die and never
So you
make it to
got the
10 years.
sustainability down pat.
We've worked with over 250 entrepreneurs to start and scale their businesses over that time. We've worked with hundreds of franchise systems, many within that hundred subset. We've literally started and helped scale those franchise systems. They were independently owned, they were a small business, whether it was a gym or whether it was a restaurant or whether it was a cleaning service, and we helped scale them through franchising. Thousands of hours with executive coaching, CEOs or wannabe CEOs, help to get investors, SBA loans, and pitch competition winners. Just try to get funding from traditional and non traditional ways. And we work with a variety of different organizations, whether it's nonprofits, cities, counties, and universities, to help them build their small business ecosystems. And we haven't been limited to just the United States. We work with people worldwide. Believe it or not, there are people that have called us all over the world, particularly as it relates to developing a franchise system or bringing a franchise concept to a different nation. It's always surprised me about that. So that's what we've been doing since 2013. It's been an honor and a privilege. I work with consultants all over the country. I also have arrangements with lawyers and accountants and all manner of real solid subject matter experts. We're partners to triage and really get the best caliber of service for our clients. And that's the beauty of working in a space for a while. You get networks, you get community, and when I make a referral or I make a partnership connection, like I'm going to work on this assignment with a group of people, you can be guaranteed that these are people that have serious expertise and they're veterans in their given space. And the proof is kind of in the pudding, as it were. So those are our success stories. We're really excited about those success stories. And I probably in the future, I'm really excited about the entrepreneurship ecosystem work that we're doing, because I think that can actually make the biggest impact. For more information about me, you can go to www.newdayconsultingsystems.com. You can see more about us. Dr. Hollis shared my bio. Some of that bio is on the website. And last but certainly not least, the contact information. You can certainly email me, call me, go to the website. I love this. This is one of my favorite ways to connect. LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. My full government name, as my mother used to say, Kimberly Marine Bonner. And I would love to have a conversation with you free of charge, and hopefully give you access to some information that you've not heard before. And that's it. Thanks so much, Dr. Hollis. Thanks again, everyone in the city of Miramar, for the honor and privilege of being part of your spotlight small business cohort or group for 2023. I'm excited and just humbled. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And I know the participants are going to join me in thanking you for sharing your information today. I am so elated that you concluded with the spotlight concept, because we have positioned these businesses and these small minority businesses that we will be spotlighting, not to give their services away. I love that Ms. Bonner will have a free consultation. Remember, she's a lawyer. Most lawyers have free consultations, so don't underestimate her value in that she will talk with you. It's impossible for you to be able to know whether or not you have what it takes, or if this is an area of expertise that you're willing to explore. And so it makes sense for you to allow her an opportunity to sit down and explain a little bit more about all of these things. Ms. Bonner, are we going to be able to share the PowerPoint presentation with them if
Oh,
someone wants
absolutely.
to ask? Excellent. Also, we are here to empower these businesses to connect with each of you. I'm also happy to showcase another way in which we are trying to connect and ensure and position all of our small business spotlights to prosper. And so here's an example. Miss Kimberly Bonner, what you don't know is the City of Miramar partners with Nova Southeastern University in their entrepreneurial boot camp each year. And at that particular boot camp, they highlight, and their specialty is intellectual property. We
Mm,
literally we've hosted, we've sponsored, we go every year with the team and the Economic Development and Housing Department. We attend that workshop with the businesses each year. And Nova Southeastern have a panel of attorneys that they make available to these businesses in a program that they have, as long as they are economically feasibly and they qualify, they are able to get that kind of information. And I will be connecting you as the City of Miramar Spotlight to Mr. Stephen Cass, who runs that center, as a viable option for him and his team to consider, to allow partnering with the other attorneys that are on the Nova Southeastern board, because each year they literally sit down, they coach, they have an application process, and they help businesses in the arena, exact arena that you're talking about. So not only do we want to position you, showcase you, and connect you with our small businesses that were kind enough to sign on as participants today, we are looking to scale you up. And so we will be
I just,
connecting you.
and I appreciate it. But just for clarification, this is, I'm not a law firm. What I do is help, what's the word? Help folks come up with their IP licensing strategy
Which
and
is exactly what,
commercialization.
and that's what the panel
So,
does. I've been on the panel, so it's not,
oh, okay.
I would not, it's not practicing attorneys only. We
Okay.
It's people that, like you and myself, that have a heart, skills, capability, and the will to assist these small businesses.
Okay.
We
I
should
love
be
it.
able
I
to
love
provide
it.
them
Thank you. I just want to
with,
be clear because I didn't
yeah,
want to get any trouble on this webinar.
no, we will be connecting you. We're just making a connection so that they can know who you are and so that you can attend. That will be a great boot camp for you. It's right
Okay.
in your arena. We want you too to have additional information of where you can go to learn how to grow your business,
I
where
appreciate
you
that.
can go to connect with community stakeholders that can further empower and scale you up as a business. So thank you again, Ms. Bonner. You have been and done an exceptional job to assisting the city of Miramar in empowering our participants today to learn a lot more about your organization and your company. We truly believe that the information that you provided them today is going to position them to be able to showcase and care about let me stop sharing, spread the information and learn more about your company so that they can grow as a business. More importantly, they can learn more about what it is that you're trying to do and they can learn from you in these particular areas. Please, 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 small businesses, take advantage, use the information that was given, follow up with Ms. Bonner, and allow her an opportunity to allow you a, I don't say the word free, Ms. Bonner, a consultation at no cost to you. Because I tell businesses, they say, Ms. Bonner, Dr. Hollis does everything for free. Dr. Hollis has been empowered by the City of Miramar leaders to do what I do at no cost to you, business owner. But the City of Miramar, on a serious note, invests quite a bit in these programs. They
Yes.
in making sure that not only do you have an individual, but now we have an entire department, economic development and housing, that whose sole purpose is to make sure we continue to develop programs, services, stimulus, what have you, with the challenges, even though we experience them just like every place else in America, right here in Miramar. But just know we continue to position you as a small business owner to succeed. Thank you again, Ms. Kimberly. Thank you all again for joining us. That concludes today's session, and we look forward to seeing you on May 4th here at the City of Miramar, especially those construction industry and construction firms. This concludes today's webinar. Have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.